Let's appreciate the angel over this house, the pastor, Bishop William E. McMillan Jr. Thank you for this opportunity to be here and for allowing for this platform. We're just glad that you're here, and I believe that there will be some great information shared for all of us, not only for us to have for ourselves, but to take back to our friends, to our family, and then just to be able to share the knowledge that we gain about generational wealth, about credit, all of the information that we have. We want to sort of pull it together and send it out into the community so that it can also be a blessing to others. So let's not hold it to ourselves. Let's not just hear for ourselves, but to be willing to share with others, because that's why we learn information, so that we can share it with others and that it can be a help to so many of us who need to have it. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Bishop McMillan. God bless you, baby. God bless you, baby Bishop.
Thank you all for coming this evening. See, I was about to say something, and I guess I will. During the COVID crisis, everybody had to use a different mic, and everybody had to use mic covers and all those things. And so I was with my presiding bishop, and he and his wife were in a setting kind of like this. And so after she spoke, the brother came up to change the mic, and he said, "No, you don't have to change the mic. I want everything she got." And so without being like I can be sometimes, we use the same mic because I want everything you got. Yeah. Glad to have you all here with us this evening and to this wonderful panel. Thank you, brother. You holding it down over here. And these beautiful young ladies. And we're excited about knowledge. And it has been said that knowledge is power. And the Bible tells us that the people suffer because of a lack of knowledge. And I want to appreciate all of you that are here to represent and to teach and instruct and train in financial literacy. It is so important that we not only hear what to do, but that we know what to do. And I want to appreciate our own precious daughter of this ministry, Sister Janice Thomas. That's a clap place. We appreciate you so much. And yes, and to all of you, welcome to Rehoboth Ministries, and we are eager to learn. God bless you.
All right, if you are joining us via Facebook or YouTube and you're ready for this conversation, we want to know who's in the room. So drop your comments. Think about that emoji that remind you of where you're at in your financial literacy. We're going to have some experts in the comment section, but we want to definitely make sure that you're getting all the answers to your questions as we move forward. So let's get into this conversation. Y'all ready?
Yes,
all right, so we're going to do some quick intros. We're going to start with Antoine, and we're going to make our way down. So,
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Antoine Walker. I'm part of the Virginia State Alumni Association Baltimore chapter, and I'm here to speak on financial empowerment. I am a homeowner, so I can speak on that experience.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Sierra Graham. I am a member of this here church. Have been, I feel like, my whole life. But I am an HR professional, but I also am an entrepreneur. I have a social media management and branding agency where I help small businesses. Well, let me not say small businesses, because there's nothing small about your business. But entrepreneurs really starting up and want to add a creative spin to what they're doing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Siobhan Finley. I'm also a member of the Baltimore Metro Alumni Association. I'm just here to share my point of view as the youth and how I can share my knowledge that I might gain and also gain some knowledge from y'all. So thank you for having me.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kimberly Gross. I am a member here of Rehoboth Ministries. Those were my parents up here talking about they want everything that each other has. So embarrassing. I am, you know what I'm saying? I try to raise them best as I can, but, you know, you try. I am a homeowner, which I'm pretty excited about. Also, government professional, which I'm kind of pretty excited about, I guess. But also an entrepreneur. I own my own business, which is grief support, grief advocacy, and team building. So have a few perspectives to share and then also looking to learn. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Labria Shannon, and I do attend this wonderful church, Rehoboth Ministries, and I'm here to share and to learn.
And I'm Janice Thomas. I do also serve here at Rehoboth Ministries Church of God in Christ. I serve as, in this capacity, the youth and young adult leader here, and I'm just happy to share this amazing stage with these awesome young professionals, entrepreneurs. So let's get into the conversation. So in no particular order, whoever wants to chime in, first things first. Growing up, okay? I'm still growing up. You're still growing up. Growing up, how was the topic of money discussed in your household?
I'll go first. When you grow up in a household with a Caribbean parent, there's no discussion of money. It's turn the lights off because you don't pay the bills. But I will say that more so taught me to be mindful of how I'm utilizing my things and being mindful of how I'm spending. I don't feel like we had direct conversations about financial literacy, but I feel like my parents really led by example, and I was able to kind of grasp the concept of being financially responsible. So I might not have had all the tools, but I had the example there to make me cognizant of the decisions that I was making through my adolescent years.
So maybe my father is Caribbean. Maybe, and I just found out tonight. So, sup, daddy? I don't know. So in my home, it was the same thing. Like, it wasn't something that we actively talked about, but I knew that my dad went to work so that he could pay the bills and we could do all the things that we wanted to do. And so that's kind of what set the model for me, I guess. You know, the man goes to work and he comes home and we're able to turn the lights on and off and open and close the doors, and everything works because he goes to work and pays the bills. And then now on this side of it, I kind of understand how it happens. And so now the conversations are happening. Like, how did you make all of those dollars stretch to cover all of these things?
Yeah, I'll speak as well. So my mother, she works at a bank. She's an IRA specialist. So at home, it was very similar. We didn't really talk about finances, but I also saw the model. So my parents, they're from New Jersey. I'm from Virginia. They moved to Virginia to purchase a home. So I saw that model that made me want to purchase my own home. Seeing them, you know, go to work and same thing, make that dollar stretch. I really didn't have to ask for much. But it's wild when you are now working and you realize your first job, you make more than your parents might make today. And you're like, I was able to do all these things on that dollar. And I'd be maybe stressing out a little bit these days. But I just want to echo, for me in the home, it was seeing the model, maybe not discussing it until I actually was in the situation that really helped me in my financial journey.
For me, growing up, talking about money was not in the home. I kind of learned about money with like trial and error. When I ran out of money, I was out of money. So that's how I learned to be responsible, but it was never like a topic of conversation about budgeting. But is if you had the money, you can buy it. If you don't, you won't get it. So that's how I grew up.
Hey. So I feel as though in my household we established that money, it can come and go. But my mom, she started us up early with a bank account. We already had a savings, already had a checkers came a little later. But we already had a savings. We already had a fund that we know that we could go to if we needed to, like for Christmas fund or have a trip to go to. But in my household, I feel as though I had like a hustle mentality because my grandfather, that man can make $1. And I always appreciate it. He'll give me some money. I was like, I want to get more money. So how can I make myself get money like him? So I always try to find a way to make it more of it, because if you're not going to get more, you're going to get less and less and less. So I do appreciate that input of how you take input, because all that output ain't going to lead to nothing.
Okay, so we heard there's a theme here. So the theme is, for the most part, that you all had some sort of conversation or model when it came to managing your money and your finances. So you had to grow up, right? You became a young adult. And so I want to know, at what point in your own experience when you realized you needed to have good credit? Like, what was your first credit experience on your own? Not help from your parents, not a bank account with your parents. You're on your own, and you had your first experience around credit, dealing with credit.
I'll take this one. So, like I said, I'm from Virginia. I got my first job in Hagerstown, Maryland. If you know where that's at, it's right. I mean, little backstory. I was trying to get a job in Norfolk, Virginia, stay at home, save up some money. Somehow ended up in Hagerstown. But while working in Hagerstown, I'm an engineer for FedEx, and my boss was based out of DC at the time. We had a staff meeting in DC. I needed to drive that hour and some change. As I'm driving, I get about 30 minutes from my house, my engine blew up. So I didn't go to work that day. But in Hagerstown, my parents 4 or 5 hours away, no car. I had to buy a car that weekend. So that was truly one of my first experiences with credit. Luckily, I was in a place where I had a good credit score. I was able to go to the car dealership and get a car with no money down. I had a partnership with my bank because my mother worked at the bank, so I had a good rate. I had a decent payment. So that was truly my first experience of really understanding what it means to have a good credit score. Because if you're hearing today, people are paying $700, $800, $900, $1,400 a month for a payment. I was blessed that my payment was only $300. So that was truly my first experience, and really made me understand, and as I prepare for home ownership, understanding the power of the credit score.
Yes, that's a clap moment.
Yeah,
Talking about modeling the way, I mean, Antoine, you are a young man, emerging leader in your own right, and just to see you position yourself, obviously, with the support of your parents, and you just learning how to set yourself up fiscally is just a wonderful thing, and it's good to see a young black brother who is on his way to success.
Thank you.
Of which, if you all agree or disagree, like, we don't see enough of that in the black community. So, those who are tuning in, definitely I want you to drop some comments and some questions. If you have questions for Antoine that he can answer for you. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that when we encounter young adults such as these on the stage, we want to support them, we want to push them, and we want to put them in a position where they're helping the next generation to come. So kudos to you and your parents. I don't know them, but I just wanted to kind of give that quick shout out. So congratulations to you. Okay, who else wants to share their first experience around credit?
Well, I am now a newly car owner. Thank you. The process was a process. I didn't know if I rather needed my parents to co-sign me. This is my first time. I did not want to get a credit card at all. I was just certain with my debit card. Oh, I love my debit card. That's all I needed. My mom told me, go get a credit card. Went in there. They made me a student account. I was like, okay, I got my limit of $500. But I just was 1 year in. I was like, I don't got no credit. They're not going to approve me for no car. I'm going to need a cosign. And he was like, no, Miss Finley, you have great credit. You can do this all by yourself. I was like, oh. so proud of myself. I was like, I've been making my payments on time. And I was just like, wow, like we really need this to build. You need this for your home, your car. Nobody's going to trust you if you ain't got no good credit. You can't even get a good standing job if you have bad credit. That's part of your background check. So it's really something that you do need.
I would say my first time actually realizing I needed credit was when I went to go get my first apartment. And I had no credit. I think I was like 19. And I'm like, oh, this rent is affordable. I'm going to have a roommate. I can afford this. Like, I have the money. And they were like, well, what's your credit? I'm like, what credit? I don't have credit. I don't have a credit card. I don't have anything. So at that point, I did call my dad. I said, listen, what do I need you to do? What do you need me to do for you to co-sign this apartment? So we got our own little contract. So I'm like, I'm more afraid of him than I am the actual apartment complex. If my bills are not paid, I'm not worried about the eviction. I'm worried about him. So that was my first time really having an understanding of how important credit is when you're trying to build and grow as a young adult.
So my first experience was probably in reverse. So I thought my parents were rich growing up. Like I really legit did, because whatever we wanted, they just produced it with, I don't know how, because I know what I make today, and I'm like, this is not enough to do all the things I need to do. And I know they made a fraction of what we had today, but whatever we wanted, they produced it. And I had a checking account, savings account. If it went in the negative, they got it out of the negative. If my credit card bill wasn't paid, it somehow got paid. So I didn't have to learn how to manage what I had, because my parents were enablers, really. So it was their fault. So I thought, thank you. Okay, I need a support group. Okay, I need help. But they always stepped in and saved the day when it came to finances. And so when it came time to get an apartment, and they were like, well, what's your credit score? I'm like, oh, I don't know, Daddy, I need an apartment. And they stepped in and fixed it. But when I really moved out, and I had to figure things out on my own and get a car, and that's when I started to connect the dots. Like, okay, wait, so if I don't pay this bill, it goes to some magic database that everybody has access to, and I'm not gonna be able to say, well, my father's the chief of police. Can you just call him? So that's when I had to connect the dots, like really moving out and having to stand mostly on my own 2 feet.
Let's take it back just a tad. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you reference your parents as enablers. Mm-hmm. So that meant that every time you got into a bind, they were there to save you. Yes. Every single time.
Every time.
Am I right? On the right track so far?
You're okay. Driving on the right street.
Okay, I'm on the right street.
In her new car.
So, and so there had to have been a time or an experience where they cut up that checkbook, they cut the cord, they said no more. There had to be a lesson in this, right? It had to be.
It don't look like it.
I am sitting in the pulpit of my father's church. That time never came.
Really?
Even to this day. Now, I will say the difference from then and now, if my father has to step in, it's not because I'm just reckless and not taking care. Like, I'm not just spending the mortgage money on something else. And so now I need him to pay the mortgage. If he has to step in now, it's legit because there's a need. And he does. And he will for me or my siblings. The difference then, I was reckless, but not even knowing that I was reckless. It's
gotcha.
Because you have parents who are just they want the best for their children, and at a time it probably came because they didn't have, and so they wanted to make sure that we had, and so we had everything, and then you don't know that you shouldn't do this because maybe you should figure it out on your own. But why should I figure it out on my own? Because they got it.
Me and the people viewing online, in this audience, on this panel, you keep skating past my question. I want to know, when did you realize you was reckless?
When did I realize? I mean, now looking back. So I've had to, so full transparency, maybe, how long have I been in my house for 8 years? Prior to that, so maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I filed bankruptcy because I had done, all the things. And I'm like, okay, now, what? So I'm going to start over. And I wanted to buy a house. And they were like, well, you can't. But I'm like, why can't I now? I have, all of the stuff is gone. It doesn't matter. And so that became my, transformative period where it's like, okay, let's learn and let's talk about credit and let's learn what credit cards do. College, they just give you credit cards. College kids, no. If you do not have a job, you do not need a credit card that you cannot pay, because they'll just give it to you and you just take it. And if you have parents like I did, they'll step in and pay the bills. But so probably 13 years ago was my point of rebuilding. But he never cut me off.
Listen, I do not believe in cutting your kids off. Well, I don't believe in cutting my kids off from financial support and help, regardless of their age. However, I do believe in lessons, but I would never cut my kids off.
Oh, there have been some lessons.
I know it had to been some lessons. I know they was a key.
There have been some lessons. There have been some lessons.
So how about you, Labria?
Well, I received my first credit card coming out of high school. And I was so I didn't know anything about credit, but I heard it was a good thing to have. And I used to check my credit score every day. And I started using a credit card. It was a retail store. So I started using a credit card and paying it off and using it and paying it off. And my score was just going up and up. And I just started branching out, get some other cards. And yeah, we're good.
So what's one misconception about wealth or finances that you want to share? What's one misconception that you want to share? Something that you thought was one way when it turned out to be another, or over your journey of adulthood, dealing with finances, what's one misconception?
Sometimes it takes more than money. There's more to the story than just money. Because money can't get you in certain doors. You have to have a background of credit. You have to show these people that they can trust you with the money. So having credit is definitely very important over money any day.
Anyone else?
I would say your lifestyle has to match just to go with that. It takes more than money. You just have to be responsible all the way around. So, whatever your job is, how you approach your job, when you get in the door, look at the big picture. Is the entry-level position your end all, or is there room to grow? And if there's room to grow, then see, where do you want to be? If I don't just want to be the secretary, I want to be the CEO, how do I need to get there? How do I need to show up? What investments in myself do I need to do to get there? And then along the way, the bank account will start to match.
Yeah, I'll say for me, it's not about how much you make, but how much you spend. So, today everyone's obsessed with six figures. I got to make all this money. But if you make a lot of money and you spend a lot of money, you're still going to be broke. So ultimately, we talked about budgeting. You need to budget the money you have. The biggest thing, the realization I had, I think when I was 25, I just froze because I was as you grow or as you get older, there's so much you have to pay for that isn't the fun stuff. Investments, insurances, once you have kids, like the money goes to so many places that you really have to budget, because if you don't, you won't know where it's at, and then you'll not have money and not realize where it's went. So that's the biggest thing for me.
I also think that being wealthy is like, wealthy people are like quiet. Like your wealth is in your savings, your wealth is in your freedom. You know, your wealth is like being able to do stuff. Like people with money can't do a lot of things but spend money. But when you're wealthy, you can do so many things with wealth. So wealth is not flashy. Money is flashy, but wealth is like very calm, quiet, cool, collective, and can get in doors that money can't get you in.
Sarah, you wanted to share something?
Two things. So that reminded me, wealth. I feel like I sit a lot and I think about like what wealth means to me. And I feel like because I'm such an ambitious person, I try not to really think too much about wealth because it'll never be enough. Like, it doesn't matter how much money I can visibly see, it'll never be enough because I feel like there's always more out there. So I try not to think so much about wealth, but more so financial success and freedom opposed to wealth. I try to view it that way because I'm going to be honest, I spent so much time being afraid of finances that now that I have an understanding of finances and credit, I just had to kind of really readjust my mindset and how I view money. I would be the type of person that even if I have it, I'm not spending it because I don't ever want to be broke. So readjusting my mindset and not being fearful of wealth. So I feel like going back to your question about misconceptions, credit and finances don't have to be scary. So, yeah.
So again, for you all who are tuning in live from Facebook or YouTube, we are discussing all things financial literacy, financial wealth and empowerment. Our sponsor on today is Fulton Bank. And I want to ask the panel a question around how important is it for financial institutions to support our communities? Like, how important do you think financial institutions should be supporting communities?
It's very important. I grew up in the Park Heights community right down the street from here. And even now, some of the kids that I grew up with are still here in the community, just because the opportunities or knowledge wasn't available to everybody. And when I look at where I grew up, I think it was just my family and another family on the block or within the 2 blocks that had both parents in the home. And so even that, you know, it just made a difference on where we are today. So having representation in the community who will actually reach out or connect with schools or colleges is so important for our children to know that what they see around them is not where they have to end up, because that may be the only opportunity that they have to get access to the information. So it is very, very, very important.
I think even with that, communities really backing up businesses and entrepreneurs or even the church so that we can all invest in each other. It's not always easy because we don't always have it to give ourselves or the next person, but I think it's very important to build generational wealth or even just build up our communities. I don't think we're gonna grow as a community, the Black community, if we don't start investing in ourselves and each other.
What about programming? So most of us here on the panel are members of Rehoboth Ministries. Shout out to Rehoboth. And so, and our church is located in, the heart of Park Heights, just, in Baltimore City. And I want to talk a little bit about, and you can answer whether you are a member of the church or not, how important is programming? Because in order for the church, right, the church sometimes get a lot of slack on what they're not doing, right? Mm-hmm. But having this conversation, the church do need support from communities, right? From our financial institutions to support said programming. And so we can have this ripple effect when it comes to sharing knowledge, knowledge, wealth, financial literacy to our younger generation and those of us who are, big adults and still learning about said subjects. So how important is programming in the local churches important, and what are some of the strategies that, we probably have some churches joining us online. We're going to share this live stream, so share the live stream, folks, and we want to expose ourselves to other financial communities to support. So what are some strategies or some programming that you would like to see in the local church?
Yeah, I'll speak. I think a great place to start, especially within a church, is wills and trusts. Life ends, and churches support a lot of funerals, and a lot of wealth is lost at that moment through wills and trusts. You can avoid probate, where a lot of money is lost. So that's just a connection where people are already coming into this place, and now we can start to talk about some wealth building opportunities, especially during an emotional time. So that's just a place where I feel that's a good program to have, where people are already coming to the church to talk about those things, but we can also talk about how we can keep the money in the family in that moment.
And I probably would recommend community outreach, like with a health fair, or I don't know if y'all do y'all probably couldn't, but if y'all could get an area in a park and y'all can do service in a park, that would be really lovely, because you can bring everybody out and have a service where y'all can grill, get some people together, hey, we're going to be at Drill Park. We're going to have a pavilion. We probably can do it at the pool. So you provide everything for the youth also, and people who have kids. So they can oh, this is what they did. This is so they're going to bring more people out. So it's more of an outreach. So everybody can feel like this is such a trusting church, especially we are in the hood of Park Heights. Come from over west too. So, woo, I'm across the tracks though. I'm sorry. I love y'all. But this community does need love, though. And I love and respect them, but they a little hard. They just need some love and some outreach and some support. They just need a hug. I swear they do.
Okay, Siobhan.
Meet them where they at. Meet them where they at. Mm-hmm.
I think aside from programming, growing up, whether you wanted to or not, you were going to church. So I think in our community, and society now, there's not a lot of interest in church. There's not a lot of interest in raising your family in a church. So I do think that Rehoboth does do a good job of doing not so traditional churchy things all the time. Like we had a crab feast. That was great. I got my church in that Saturday. I said, Bishop, you're not going to see me on Sunday. But I got my church in at the crab feast. So I do think that doing creative things like that is important for the community and the church, just because, unfortunately, people aren't that invested in church in general, let alone their local church. So I think getting families and getting people back in the community is going to have to take the church to step out of the building and do things like Siobhan was saying.
One thing I would love to see come back into our communities, our community centers. When we were, I think I'm older than everybody up here, but we had community centers. We had places that we could go after school and during the summer where we could have fun, play games, read books, be mentored, have summer skill development to prevent that lag that happens over the summer, or that relapse. We don't really have those types of things in the community anymore. So I would love to see some dollars poured into the church for the church to be that place. I know Rehoboth is full of professionals where, we could have some things happening in the summer where we just need a little dollar support from our local bank. Hey, folks in over there, how y'all doing? Yes, we're going to talk to y'all. But some things like that, because we're in a community where we have multi-generational families. Schools are out for the summer, but parents are not off for the summer. And so you have children who are home. And if they're home, when I was little, I turned my house into the neighborhood store, and I sold the food that my parents bought from Pace. We used to go to Pace and Sam's Club, and they would buy like the oodles and noodles and the big pack, and I would sell them for $1. If you wanted them cooked, then it was $1.50. So I learned how to make money at an early age, right? I was an entrepreneur. But when the kids are home during the summer, they're either going to be in the house or they're going to be outside, and there's nothing to do but get in trouble. The Bible says that idle mind is the devil's playground. And so if we can have things here happening for them, then the church can become that resource that families need.
So there was a lot of great ideas and strategies and suggestions. And so, if anybody know me, you know what comes next, because I'm going to be calling each one of y'all and say, hey, listen, you gave this great idea. Come on, let's make it happen. Your phone is what? No, turn it back on. Back on. So we're going to wrap up the conversation. So before we wrap up, we definitely want to make sure you drop your questions in the comments. So we wanted to be able to answer those as we wrap up tonight's session. Again, we're here talking all things financial literacy, generational wealth, and celebrating of Juneteenth. And so each panelist, I want you to leave the viewers one piece of advice centered around finances, wealth, and access.
Starting with Antoine.
All right. What I want to leave people with is wealth building is a long game. So one thing that I've got into the past couple of years is investing outside of my 401k. I just want everyone to know compound interest is something everyone should look up. It's the eighth wonder of the world. And start investing today. If you can't invest today, invest tomorrow. So just start building that wealth slowly, $1, $5, $100. It builds up over time.
I would say it's never too late or too early to learn about wealth, learn about finances and credit. I feel like if I would have shown interest at an earlier age, I'm doing fine. But if I would have shown interest and not been so afraid of finances, the things that I would have been able to do by the tender age of 31, I feel like I would have been everywhere. Listen, we would have been on a yacht in France or something. But just don't be afraid to learn about finances. And as far as my husband and I with our daughter, of course, she's only 3, but starting her off learning about what she calls monies, at a young age, learning about monies, and starting her off with that college savings plan so that we don't have to worry about how we're going to pay for college. A little bit of money from birth until 18, she won't even need all the money that she'll have once it comes time for college. So continue to learn, seek knowledge, save, budget, and just be disciplined.
I would like to leave y'all off with, it's a difference between want and need. Because you may want it, you must remind yourself you do not need that. You don't even have the goals to meet that. So just always understand that it's a difference between want and need.
I would say get a mentor. The same way you invest in your academic life or your professional life, attack your financial life the same way. So find someone who's modeling the goals financially that you would like to implement in your life, in addition with partnering with your bank, but have a mentor where you can have transparent conversations, and they're going to grow you.
I would say start where you are with what you have. Nothing is perfect. Wealth doesn't look perfect. Wealth is not built in one day. It's actually built daily. So just continue to work on your wealth. And if you're saving, just have a plan for your savings.
Well, this was an amazing conversation. Thank you, live audience. We could do better than that. They was dropping some gems on the stage tonight.